Hey everybody, welcome back to Tommy's Tesla Tech and Travel, and we're going to do our 30,000 mile review of my Tesla Model 3. We purchased this back in December of 2020, and well, we hit 30,000 miles in less than 2 years. We've done a lot of driving, been to the East Coast and back, going from Tucson to Florida. We've been up to California a few times, including Northern California, up near San Francisco, Sacramento area. We put a lot of mileage on this car, so I figured not only is it time for do a 30,000 mile review, but also talk about our pros and cons of owning an electric vehicle this day and age. So let's start off with the pros. The pros are, it's a lot cheaper than a gas car when it comes to quote unquote fueling your car. And we proved that with our most recent trip to California. I actually kind of gauged like the amount we were spending with the fuel stops, well, quote unquote charging stops, fuel stops. And what it would be compared to the gas car that we had before, which was my 2018 Hyundai Santa Fe. And we were going by the average cost of gas in Arizona. So I thought that'd be a little unfair just to say all of it in California, because we would have filled up once in Arizona, once in California for this trip. And then once while we were there, and then once on the way back, and once when we got back to Arizona again. And my numbers said that it would have been about $390 some going by the average price in California and the average price in Arizona in that time, to fill our car those 5 times. Well, we did, oh gosh, if I recall correctly, it was something around 21 total charging stops with the drive up there, the drive back, while we were in California, all the different places. And the total cost was $217. So $180+ less than would have been with the fuel car. I know that doesn't sound like a huge amount in the grand schemes of things, but the average cost per kilowatt hour here in Tucson where we live is about 13 cents per kilowatt hour during the night when I normally charge my car. And considering I have a 55 kilowatt battery, I mean, to really fill my car is less than $15 from 0 to 100, which obviously we never do because you never want to go to 0%, and you don't often go above 80 if you don't have to. So the charging cost really does decimate the cost of doing gas at this point in life. The second pro, it's just a fun car to drive. I mean, the 0 to 60, it's essentially a sports car. One thing I've always liked about it is that front end really does kind of look like a Porsche, and the back end looks like just, you know, a really good 4-door sedan luxury car. You know, but we'll get back to one of the cons. It also has to do with the whole fact that this is a luxury car for all intents and purposes. The other pro is just the maintenance. Really, the only maintenance I've had to personally do on this car is making sure I fill the windshield wiper fluid and change the windshield wiper blades. And then we live in Arizona, we don't get that much rain. However, during the monsoon season, like it is now, from that time in like early July through mid-August, we get a lot of rain. So it's really crucial to have those windshield wiper blades. Those are the really 2 things I have to do on a regular basis for maintenance. I do have my tires checked often, and I check them here at home too. If my brother-in-law is watching, yes, it's called an air compressor. I make sure my tires are aired up when I need them to be. But I also stop by Discount Tires quite a bit because they've always taken care of me. And the con with this car is the tires too, from all the torque that it has. Well, we'll get to the cons here in a little bit. The third pro for me so far in the 2 years I've owned this, I have 2 little ones, Henry and Charlie, who you've seen on this channel. It's just the safest car too. Like, I feel completely safe in this car. I mean, it's easy to drive, it's easy to handle, the airbags surrounding us, the weight of the car, nearly over 3,000 pounds. So it's almost impossible to flip these cars. It is the safest car on the road, in my opinion, and according to a lot of the studies as well. I feel really, really safe in this car, and with my family, that's very important to me. Even my wife's driving, I know she feels really safe driving too, and she was really unsure about it when we first got it. And my last one is, I like the charging stops when we travel, because we travel quite a bit, and we do a lot of driving. We're a road trip family. So these stops really are an opportunity for our kids to get out and stretch their legs, not feel cooped up in the car all day, for us to get out and just explore the world around us. I mean, point in case, on our trip back from California recently, we discovered a small little like farm with a little restaurant, little candies, a petting zoo, and it was at a charging stop that I never would have stopped at in a million years had it not been for the Tesla making us stop there to charge the car. So those are the pros to me. It's efficient financially when it comes to charging the car and fueling the car. Granted, it's a little more expensive per month to own the car, but to me, the costs balance out with the charging and the fueling. And it's fun to drive, the maintenance is really low, and we get out of the car on these long road trips, and it doesn't really change our time to and from these locations too. I haven't really noticed a huge change. Well, I guess that's not entirely true. Last time we drove to California, I know we got there like another hour or two past what I was expecting. That's because we charged a little bit longer at some of the stops just to be safe. But let's talk about the cons. To me, the big con is, I mentioned earlier, it is a luxury car. You pay a lot of money for these cars. At the time I purchased mine, it was MSRP $37,999. And I know since then, the Model 3, and I have a long range, not the long range, I'm sorry, the standard range model. So mine was 272 miles of estimated range when I bought it, which we'll get to that con too. It is degraded so fast, and I've followed all the charging procedures. I even tried the battery master reset that you've seen with like Kim Java or even Jeeves up there in Phoenix. To no avail. I'm assuming it's the heat of Southern Arizona that's really causing the issues, but we'll get to that again. It's the production flaws in the car themselves. At the time when we picked it up, they told us to go over it and make sure that it fits our needs. We can reject delivery. I'm not gonna lie, I was just so excited for the car was there. I didn't care about the small production flaws. There's tons of gaps, but they all told me that they're within the specs of like Tesla themselves. It's within spec. I don't know how that's possible. I mean, one side has like a 1/4 inch gap, the other side has like an 1/8 inch gap. You know, I really don't notice a huge difference. I don't even see the difference anymore because it's been almost 2 years, but it's there. And you figure with a car that you spend this much money on, it would really basically be flawless out of the gate, okay? But unfortunately, it was not. My second con is, it's kind of like Apple, in as much as it's so back-end controlled and proprietary. I've run into a few issues that unfortunately I couldn't resolve or fix myself, and I'm used to fixing things myself in this regard. For example, I've had issues with 3 tires on 4 separate occasions. And I couldn't just change my tire. I had to have my car towed. I had to call a Tesla professional. I had to actually call and get someone to go in on a Sunday when they're normally closed so I can get a tire, because there was no place in Southern Arizona that had this specific tire in stock except for the Tesla service center, which was closed that day. Well, it was closed to just walk-ins and everything. They were appointment only. But luckily, the manager there I talked to, he got someone there. I went and bought a tire, took it to Discount Tires, and they changed my tire for me. So I guess my issue is you have to have a very like set amount of, well, let me rephrase, let me back up. It's proprietary that you have to go to the people that are authorized to do it. You can't just do it yourself. That's why, you know, someone like Rich Rebuilds is so important, because they're proving that you don't have to stay in the little ecosystem like you do with Apple or Tesla, that there is a select few out there that's willing to go outside of that circle and get it done for sometimes a cheaper cost and just as good quality, and not have to be so dependent on the system. Okay, the next one in the con to me is the range degradation. Like I said earlier, my car was one of those 272 mile range cars, which I know is just an estimation. But now if I'm lucky, I get an estimated range of 239 to 234 on a quote unquote full tank. It's been less than 2 years and 30,000 miles. I feel it's odd that I've degraded over almost 30 some miles, well over 30 some miles. And every time I've set up a service appointment, they always do an over-the-air diagnostic and have told me, nope, everything looks good, you're fine, remember that's just an estimation. I get that, but to me like a 15 or 20 mile swing either way, come on now. Now look at someone like Andy Sy, for example, when he got one of his software updates, his mileage improved, and his is an older model than mine. If I recall correctly, it's a 2016, 2017, but he has more range than I do, but I probably drive way more miles in a year than he does as well. And we charge here at home most nights, and I never really go past 80 or 85%. The few times I have gone past like 90% to 100 is when we do long road trips, or if I try to do that battery reset that I've heard about online, but to no avail. But when I actually check my energy range when I'm driving, it's still roughly where it should be. I just find it really odd that our degradation has happened that much, and just your general mileage, which is what people tend to watch. I do go by the percentage as opposed to the mileage, but the percentage I notice drops faster too now. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. It's only been a year and change, almost 2 years, so I got a few years left on the payments, right? The next one is, though charging is cheaper, I do feel like I do it more often. And I was bragging earlier that like, oh, it's like less than $10 to $15 to fill my car. Well, I'm charging it most every night or every other night. Granted, it's usually like 40 or 30% up to 80 because I never know what driving I'll be doing the next day. So sometimes that can be frustrating. If I'm out and around running errands, so I only get a couple days off a week, so I gotta fit a lot of stuff in to those 2 days. And if I forget to charge my car the night before, it's not like I can just stop at one of the many charging stations. Here in Tucson, we now have 3. And the third one, and one's really close to our home. The other 2 are on the other side of our town. So if I wake up and I have 20% and I don't realize it till I'm mid-town, I'm not close to any charger. Like, there's some charge point chargers which are great, but you know, they're only the 240 volts, so it's gonna take a while to charge, right? And last but not least, back to the whole stopping thing, which is one of my pros. It's also a con. I'm one of those people towards the end of a trip, I just want to get there. So I'm like, oh, I still got 2 charging stops left. They're gonna be 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes each because I charge a little extra. I just want to get there. We're 150 miles away. I don't want to stop again. So that can be a con, especially at night. Coming back from Florida, the time we drove out there, we had to stop in a really kind of, well, let's just call it shady area of New Mexico, where it was way off the freeway. It was at a gas station, which is weird. I pulled into a gas station with a Tesla, and it was like 11:45 at night at this point. It was a really seedy neighborhood, which I don't normally see Tesla chargers in. So we charged and got out of there as quick as we could. And I remember we were counting, there was like 3 different cop cars that flew by in either direction in the 25 minutes we were there charging. So sometimes I just want to get there. And I know that Tesla has the best charging network in the world. And I know it's charging it fast, and you know, that fast and that hot, it's not great for the battery to do it often. But I hope we get to that point where it's just quicker, which I know is asking a lot. It's like, oh, this food is great. Now I wish I had better food. But those are really my pros and cons. I know it's probably not as in detailed as much as people were hoping for in this video, but this is also me just talking about what it is for me to own the car. You know, as you know, a dad, a husband, I commute with it every single day. It is our day-to-day family car. And these are the things I've noticed as pros and cons. Like, I could always say, I wish the air conditioning worked better. Well, I'm also in Arizona. I'm dealing with 105 to 110 degree weather right now. Whereas a lot of probably the average owners of this are probably in California or back east or what have you, and they're probably dealing with like 70 to 80 degree weather. So the AC is not as important. AC is very important here in Arizona. So I can go on and on about all the different pros and cons, but the ones I listed were the ones that really pertain to me and my everyday use with the car. So I really hope you found this enjoyable and helpful. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment down below, and thanks for taking another ride with us, although we were parked in my garage this time. But hopefully we'll take another ride again soon, and we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks, everybody.